My mom took that photo on move-in day. I was standing by the window, holding a box, squinting because the light was coming in behind it. Standard stuff, the kind of photo parents take because they need to mark the moment even when nothing remarkable has happened. I looked at it that evening on her phone and stopped. There were 2 beds in the photo. I only had 1 bed. I had always had 1 bed. The room was a single. I had specifically requested a single, paid the extra fee, and moved into what I was told was a single occupancy. 1 desk, 1 wardrobe, 1 bed against the left wall. But in the photo there were 2. The second one sat against the right wall, neatly made, pillow-centered. And on that pillow, small, yellow, the kind you pick up at a campus bookshop, a notebook. I had never seen that notebook. I looked up from the phone at the right wall. Just wall, just paint, just a faint outline where something had maybe once been fixed and taken down. I looked back at the photo. 2 beds, a yellow notebook on a pillow I had never touched. I still don't know where that notebook is. I had chosen that university deliberately, not only because of the course, though the course was exactly what I wanted, but because of the distance. Far enough from home to feel like a genuine beginning, close enough that getting back for holidays wouldn't be a whole production. I had thought about it carefully and that distance felt right. My parents drove me up in late September. The car was packed the way cars get packed for university. Every gap used, a box of kitchen things on my lap for the last 90 minutes because there was nowhere else to put it. My mom talked for most of the drive. My dad drove in the quiet way he always does on long journeys. I watched the landscape change and tried to feel prepared. The campus was older than the photos had suggested. Red brick, slightly worn at the edges, the kind of wear that comes from decades of students rather than neglect. The residential halls were behind the main buildings. Hall C was 6 floors, shared bathrooms on each landing, a common room on the ground floor that smelled of instant noodles and carpet that had absorbed too many years. My room was on the 4th floor, room 412. The corridor was loud when we arrived. Other students moved, doors open, someone's music bleeding through the walls. My room was at the far end. I unlocked it and stood in the doorway for a moment before going in. Small, smaller than I'd expected, though I knew the dimensions from the floor plan. 1 window looking over the back car park, 1 desk beneath the window, 1 wardrobe against the right wall, 1 bed against the left, a pin board above the desk with few old thumbtack holes in. Clean, though. That surprised me. The kind of clean that felt recent and deliberate, like someone had wanted the room to look as if no one had ever lived it. My parents stayed for just over an hour. My mom made the bed and took several photos. We had tea from a flask she'd brought and sat on the bed and the desk chair talking about nothing much. Then they left and I was alone in room 412 for the first time. I sat on the bed and looked at the space. 1 desk, 1 wardrobe, 1 window, 1 bed, small and quiet and mine. I felt good about it that evening. Whatever came later, I need to be clear about that. That first evening, room 412 felt right. It felt exactly like the beginning I had been looking for. The photo didn't register properly until later that night. My mom had sent it to the family group chat. I scrolled past it, clocked myself squinting by the window, thought I looked tired, moved on. It was almost midnight when something pulled me back to. I opened it again and looked properly. The second bed was there, clearly, plainly there, against the right wall, made up neatly, a yellow notebook on the pillow. The wardrobe was visible too, same position as now. The bed seemed to occupy the space in front of it, or beside it, in a way that made no geometric sense given the actual dimensions of room. I told myself it was a camera artifact, a reflection, a lens distortion, something the light had done. I didn't know enough about photography to rule it out. I put my phone face down and went to sleep. The next week I went to the admin office about my meal card. The woman at the desk pulled up my file, looked at the screen, frowned slightly, and asked how my roommate was settling. I told her I didn't have a roommate. Single room, room 412, hall C. She looked at the screen again. She said the system had room 412 listed as double occupancy. 2 students registered to that room since the start of term. I asked for the other name. She looked for a moment, then said the second entry was incomplete. A name but no student ID, no course registration, no contact information. She said it was almost certainly an administrative error. She said she'd flag it. She didn't seem worried. I told myself I wasn't either. That evening I opened the right side of the wardrobe for the first time. I had been using the left section since I moved in. The right side wasn't necessary. I didn't have enough to fill both. And some instinct I hadn't examined, had kept me from opening a door I didn't need to open. It wasn't empty. A dark wool coat hung from the rail. Below it, a pair of plain dark shoes. On the shelf above, a small stack of folded clothes and a book placed face down on top of. I took the book out carefully. An old novel, cover worn, an inscription inside the front cover in pencil. The first letter looked like an N. The rest was too faded to make out. I put the book back exactly as I'd found it and closed the door. I reported it to the RA the next morning. She came, looked at the wardrobe, said the previous occupant must have left things behind and the cleaners had missed them. She wrote something in a notebook and said she'd follow up. A week later the clothes were still there. By then I had started noticing other things. The desk chair at a slightly different angle than I'd left. My notes shifted on the desk, not dramatically, just moved. The way things move when someone has looked at them and replaced them without being quite precise, and the window latch turned to the opposite position from how I always left. I started photographing the room each morning before I left. The desk, the chair, the window. Reference points. Documentation, because documentation feels like a form of control when you're not sure if you're imagining something. The photos confirmed it was not imagination. Not every day, but regularly enough. Small displacements. The room being used in ways that were careful and minimal and designed not to be noticed by someone not paying close attention. I was paying very close attention by then. The sounds from the right wall started in third week. The wall with the wardrobe was shared with room 410. Old buildings carry sound in unpredictable ways. I knew that, and for the first few nights I filed it under pipes, or the building settled, or noise traveling from somewhere else and arriving distorted. The sounds were low and intermittent, sometimes like slow, deliberate movement, sometimes almost like breathing, though I told myself that was impossible through a wall. One night, around 2 in the morning, I pressed my ear flat against the wall. Silence for a long time, long enough that I started to feel foolish. Then a voice, low and clear, directly on the other side, so close that the wall between us felt sudden, wrongly thin. It said my name, my full name, first and last, spoken quietly and without urgency. The way you say a name when you already know the person, when you have known them for a while. I pulled back from the wall so fast I hit the desk with my hip and set everything on the floor. I stood in the center of room 412 and stared at the wall and did not move for a very long time. I didn't sleep in that room again after that night. I went to the RA first thing in the morning and told her I needed an emergency transfer. I said there was a smell coming through the walls, something structural. I couldn't stay. She could see the state I was in and didn't push on the details. She put me in a vacant room on the second floor and said she'd sort the paperwork the next day. I went back to room 412 once, in the middle of a weekday afternoon, with a friend waiting in the doorway to collect my things. The wardrobe was open when we arrived. Both sections. The right side was completely empty. Coat, the shoes, the folded clothes, the book with the faded inscription, all of it gone, as if it had never been there. My friend asked why the wardrobe was open. I said I must have left it that way. I went to the admin office and asked them to show me the registration record for room 412. A different member of staff this time. She looked it up and said single occupancy. One student registered. Had always been single occupancy. I asked about the second entry. The incomplete name, no student ID. She looked at me. She said there was no such record. No history of a second registration for that room. I asked her to check again. She checked again. One name, mine. The university investigated the other things I reported. The moved objects, the sounds, the clothes in the wardrobe. They found no evidence of unauthorized access. The electronic door log showed only my key card entering and leaving the room. No other entries at any point in the term. Room 410, on the other side of my wall, had been vacant since the start of term due to a maintenance issue. No one had been in it for weeks. I finished the year in the second floor room and didn't go back to the fourth floor if I could help it. I didn't tell my parents the full story. I told a few friends and watched their faces go careful and neutral in the way faces do when someone doesn't know what to say. Last month my mom was going through her phone and found the move-in photo. She sent it to me again with a message about how fast time moves. She asked if I remembered that day. I told her I remembered it well. I opened the photo. One bed, my bed, against the left wall. One desk, one wardrobe. The second bed was gone. No trace of it. The right wall clear and empty behind me. But on my desk, the desk I photographed every morning, the desk I knew by heart, a small yellow notebook. I don't remember it being. I have looked at that photo many times. I have zoomed in. I have looked at the notebook from every angle the image allows. I don't recognize. I never owned anything like it. And the photo was taken on the first day, before I had unpacked, before anything in that room belonged to anyone but me. I don't know whose it was. I don't know how it got there. I don't know where it went.